My name is Amory Bell, and in the 6th grade, I was exposed to pornography and everything that came with it.
My name is Braden Leggett, and I became addicted to pornography in the 6th grade.
My name is Ashlyn Miller, and throughout high school, I would struggle in my relationships with sexual sin.
Growing up throughout junior high and high school, I had this void that I didn't know how to fill. It just felt like a hole inside of me. I feel like a lot of people who don't know Christ or didn't know Christ know what this void feels like.
What started off as innocent curiosity just turned into something, a sin that just completely took over my life. And I turned to pornography as something to try to fill the emptiness that I felt inside of me, but instead I just was filled with the shame, guilt, and loneliness, and I thought I was the only girl, I should say, struggling with this.
I struggled with pornography for a very, very long time, and it got to the point where it didn't even feel like I wanted to watch it anymore. It felt like I had to watch it.
For me, I tried to fill this void with sexual relationships with a lot of different girls, and relationship after relationship, I kept doing the same exact things when I said to myself that I wouldn't, and it just tore me to pieces.
I desired so strongly to feel loved that I would often do things in my relationships that I wish I would have saved for my husband. However, since I was raised in the church, I clung so tightly to not losing my virginity. Unfortunately, I cared a lot more about not losing my virginity than I did about doing everything for the glory of God.
One day, by the grace of God, it was like a light turned on, and I realized how wrong everything was that I was doing, and I had been doing this for 6 years. And I knew what I was doing was wrong, but this time it was different because I knew that my sin, it was offensive to God, and He really showed me the weight and the gravity of what I was doing. And after that had happened, I was determined to stop, but the very next day I ended up watching porn, and I was really upset at myself because I was like, wow, I can't believe I let this happen again. And after that, it was just an endless cycle of doing okay for a while, and then I would just fall, and it was like that for about a year.
I felt like my heart was scattered in so many different places, and I just had no idea where it belonged anymore. I was just so lost and stuck in what I was doing.
Porn ruined so much for me in my life. Every relationship that I had been in was sexualized and perverted. It really ruined what I thought a relationship should be. And even outside of relationships, I sought after these things that I shouldn't have, and that validation from girls. It only temporarily filled that hole inside of me, and it never lasted very long, and soon I became very empty.
I asked questions like, why, God, are you not freeing me from this sin, and why are you letting me be stuck here? And I ended up on my knees before God, which was the exact place I needed to be because He showed me just how broken I was, and He showed me how much I am sinful. But the good news is He showed me how much He's able to forgive me and how much freedom He offers because of what He's done. And it was because of His work that I found forgiveness in Him, and every time that I did mess up, I was able to run to Him instead of hiding from Him. And it was that running to Him and that constantly turning towards Him when I did mess up.
On March 11th of 2017, I got saved, and I wish I could say right then I stopped having sexual relationships with girls, but if I said that, I'd be lying.
After coming to know Christ better, I still struggled with wanting to be with a guy, but what I learned was that God was also growing within me at that time a desire to glorify Him more.
I'm a firm believer in accountability partners, and trying to walk through a struggle like I was walking through on your own, I think is nearly impossible.
Between the heartbreak and weight and shame of this addiction, it left me believing that it was better to leave this earth than to continue on feeling the way that I was feeling.
Throughout this accountability process, the Lord really taught me what a godly relationship is supposed to look like.
I had to fight to make decisions that glorified God and not my sin nature. I didn't always get it perfect, but by the grace of God, I grew more and more and can say that I am way better today than I was then.
But God grabbed a hold of my life the night before coming here to Camp Table Rock for my last summer as a camper. The speaker on the second to last night read Acts 26:17. And the second half of that verse is God saying to Saul, I am sending you to them. That night at the altar, I accepted God's calling on my life. And now I use that pain and suffering and shame to witness to those around me and to share my story with those who might be going through the same thing.
Romans 5:8 says, but God shows his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us.
And Galatians 5:1 says, for freedom Christ set us free. Stand firm then, and don't submit again to yoke of slavery. And that verse, I mean, it just ties in with the fact that God has completely made me free, and now I get to stand firm and I get to share my story. And I am really thankful that God's brought me out of this.